The P stands for the PESHAT. Now I'm going to say the plain literal meaning, and there'll be people that say, well, that's inaccurate. It's the simple meaning. PESHAT is sometimes anything but simple. It's that straightforward meaning that you lift off the page, which we would call literal in our sort of Western mindset. The plain literal meaning, historical account. This person on this day did this. Nice and simple.
So it's the surface understanding.
Perhaps not even the surface understanding, it's just the plain language understanding. Mark got up and walked out of the house. You're not trying to read anything more into it. The plain literal meaning is that.
The thing about the literal meaning, it has some good and obviously not so good aspects that we should bear in mind. I run the risk of being considered a bit elitist with what I'm about to say. Let's talk about Noah. Noah built an ark. In the literal understanding, that's what he did. And we'll talk about this more when we get to Remez and Derash. It could mean something else. It could be an allegory. I know I'm going to regret saying this. In a pre-literate society, often the way to get a message across is just to be simplistic and therefore tell a story. The issue would be then is if that's as far as people go. The mind's like a parachute. It only works when it's open. And the mind, often like a standard H manual car, is only in neutral and first often. You want to go up a few gears. Well, this is the low gear, isn't it? Because although it's telling a story, there's more to it than that. And often, if you think that is all it's saying, especially with Noah, I think that's half the problem, because you're only reading it literally.
That's right. And so I'm very mindful when it comes to using even that word literal. While I believe that you can take a lot of scripture literally, I'm very mindful of using that because of the way that people form their view of what I mean. I say take it seriously, read it seriously, not necessarily literally, although it may well be literal, but my approach is that we take it seriously. And I think that that's probably where the PESHAT having the literal meaning is probably a little bit inaccurate, because it's actually the simple, serious meaning. What the words say is what the words say, but how you then unpack that, that's a different thing altogether.
I think what you were intimating is that if we assume that, yes, it's literal, but there's more to that, that doesn't mean that it's always more to that. Tolkien said, don't read allegory into The Lord of the Rings, it was just a story. So often we can assume, well, then it couldn't have happened because it's allegory. There really wasn't this person. No, there was this person. Don't assume, because some of the text has deeper meaning, that everything is only deeper meaning.
And that's where you have to be sensitive to the context and sensitive to the genre and sensitive to what is this section of the book? Is it supposed to be read as historical narrative, or is this supposed to be read as mytho-history? A mytho-history is not the same as historical narrative. Is this supposed to be read as poetry? Mytho-history is not the same as poetry. How you determine the genre is going to really play heavily on how you read the text.